Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you how to make a dial or a knob for an oven or any other appliance that has a dial that may have fallen off or it needs redesigning maybe. So first thing we're going to do is go into Fusion 360. I'm going to start on the front plane. I'm going to use this box in the corner, select front plane, which rotates the workspace. I'm then going to create a new component. Again, this is not something that necessarily needs to be done, but it's good practice for when you start making more complex parts. Okay, so click Sketch, Create Sketch, and click on the front plane. Because the workspace has already been rotated, it's just the plane that's right in the middle of the screen. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to create a sketch first and then revolve from it. So click line, go to the origin and click, and this will start creating itself. So I've done one vertical line. I want to go across and up and across and up again, and then I will click escape. This will be constrained in a minute. So I'm going to do some dimensions first. So I need my dial to be 40 millimeters tall by 25, because remember this is going to be revolved, so you want half the diameter. This is going to be 10, and then this dimension is going to be 20, yes. And then the last bit I'm going to do is add a spline. Like this, and then click the tick. I'm going to zoom in so I can see it a bit better. So escape from the spline. I need to put a dimension on this one too, so I'm going to make that 5 and escape from that. I'm then going to create a tangent. So I'm going to select, hold down Shift, select the tangent, select the spline and this line here, go to Constraints and click Tangent. And that means that this spline shares the point where it meets between the line and the spline, and it makes it a nice smooth curve. And zoom out of that. I'm then going to escape because I've still got tangent toggled. I am going to, with this spline, you can move this midpoint to kind of wherever you want it to go. So I'm going to put it here because that makes a nice smooth curve. But don't leave this like this, because if the line is blue, that means it's not constrained, which means it's not being prevented from moving in any way. So later on it might move and that will cause some problems. So yes, I'm going to have one here, and then when you're happy with it, just put in some dimensions. There we go. 10 and that dimension 2. This is a little bit more difficult, but that will be 1. There we go. So now all the dimensions, all the lines are black, which means it's fully constrained, and it's all fully dimensioned as well. So click Finish Sketch. And now I'm going to do a revolve. Click Revolve. It auto selects the shape that's just been made, and then you also need to select an axis. So this is the axis that the revolve will be created around. So I'm just going to rotate the workspace. Oops. Revolve, and then the axis, I'm just going to rotate the workspace, so Shift and center scroll, just rotate it so you can see a bit better, and then select the axis, which is the one in the middle, and it auto rotates to 360 degrees, creates a new body, everything's fine. You can see from the preview it looks good. Click OK. So this is the start of our dial. Looks like a mushroom at the moment. It will be turned into a dial. So the next thing I'm going to do is insert a plane. I want it to be in the same orientation as this surface, so I'm going to click it first, click construct and click offset plane. It will automatically toggle onto the plane you've just selected. I don't want it there. I want it to be above the top of the mushroom shape that we have so far. That was 40, so I'm going to put it at 50. It goes the wrong side, so I'm going to put a minus in front of it to make it go to the top. And I'm going to rotate my screen. I think I'm happy with that. This can be edited later if it needs to be. And then I'm going to draw a sketch on this plane. So click the plane, click draw sketch, and it automatically puts you into the right orientation. Now I'm going to click create center rectangle. It has to be center because I'm going to snap it to the origin. So I'm going to do that and just make it that big, and then I'm going to add some dimensions. So 10, that's fine, click enter. And this one's 50, yep, click enter. And then finish sketch. Excellent. And then extrude is already selected. So I want a distance, I want to go down into the mushroom shape. So 20, we don't want it to cut, we want it to join. So there's different options here, cut, intersect, new body, new component. We want it to join. That is not looking quite right, so I think what's happened there is the plane is a bit high on the dial. So I'm going to go back to my plane and right click, click edit feature, and I'm going to move that down a bit. 45. That's looking better. So it's contacting the top of this cylinder. But then of course we've got a bit of an overhang here. So the good thing with Fusion is that I don't need to draw a sketch to get rid of anything. I've clicked extrude, and if I hover over the base of this extruded part, it comes up with an auto select of these little overhanging bits. And so I will do the same with my scroll shift key. I can rotate, and then I'm zooming in and out using my scroll, not without the shift. So I've got those 4 sections selected, and if I click extend type, so this is how far, sorry, the direction, no, it is how far, it's how far and the direction, how you want the extrude to be cut. So I want it to be cut through the entire body, so I'm going to click all, and then I'm also going to click flip because it's trying to do it the wrong way. And you can see from the preview that it selected those 2 areas on the ends. I'm going to click OK, and you can see from there it's now curved in the same orientation, in the same way as the rest of the dial. So next, what I want to do is create a indicator line to show when the dial is facing the top. And that's important because if you put this on an oven, you need to know when you've turned the oven off. Otherwise that could be quite dangerous. So let me just make sure that I've been moving this around. Okay, there we go, there's the front. So I'm using this little block here, that's the front, and you can see it's the front. So now I want the top. I'm going to click this top surface, create sketch again. First thing I'm going to do is just project that line. So project this little curve here, project it, click OK. And what that does is it draws a line that is in the same curve as the curve that is already there. It projects it onto a new surface. Then I'm going to use my line tool, and I'm going to attach it to that curved line, bring it down, and make a little rectangle. Escape from that. This is a blue sketch, so it needs to be constrained. I'm going to put that down to 15, and then I want this to be 2mm. So it's still blue, because even though I've done the dimensions, these lines here can move this way and that way, so we don't want that. So I'm going to draw another line. This line, I'm going to make it for construction. It doesn't have to be for construction, but it does help quite a lot if it is construction. I'm going to select the origin, and then select the center, the midpoint of this curved line that I projected earlier. Click escape, and now I'm going to make this symmetrical around the origin. So I'm going to click this point, the symmetrical line, this point, and then the symmetrical line last, and that makes it symmetrical, which means that this rectangle is symmetrical around the origin. And now that won't move, all the lines have gone black. That's now fully constrained. So, finish sketch. Rotate the screen so that it's a bit clearer to see. Extrude. Click that drawing that's just been made, and I'm going to extrude it down 1. I need to put a minus in front of it because we're going down, and then that auto selects into a cut, which is correct, and click OK. So that is the front. Now I need to create the cylinder shape that will attach it to the metal prong in the oven or whatever device you are putting this dial on. So I've clicked the surface that I want to draw on, which is the very bottom, clicked create sketch, and now I'm going to add a circle. I'm going to dimension this. This needs to be 10 millimeters. And then on my dials, the dial connects with the D-shape. The spindle that's in the oven is a D-shape, so I need a corresponding D-shape on this part as well, so that the orientation is then correct. With mine, it's the D-shape, the flat is on the bottom when the dial is off, so that's why I'm putting it here. All of these dimensions are based on my own dial, so measure your own oven or spindle of any dial before you do this, because if you do this to the exact same dimensions that I'm doing it, it might come out wrong. So check that before you do it. I'm going to dimension this. So this is 8, no it's not, 7 7, and then I'm going to trim this bit here. It's come up with a warning saying that the constraints and dimensions are removed. So if I escape out of the trim, one way you can kind of check this is just click points and start moving them. And if nothing moves, you're okay. And it is all black, the sketch, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to click Finish Sketch. Rotate slightly. And then click the surface, click Extrude. Again, this is going to be a cut. So I'm going to do a minus. I'm going to do a minus 20. And that cuts into the... Yep, that cuts all the way through the cylinder. Okay, so that's that side done. I'm going to go back to the front because I want to add some fillets. I feel like this looks a little bit boxy. It can look much nicer. So I'm going to go to Fillet and click on the first edge that I want. I'm going to type in a number 1. I think that looks good. So I'm going to hold down my Control and continue clicking, and it adds fillets on. So every time I click, I hold down Control. When I let go of Control, it stops selecting. So hold down Control, Control there. Interesting. Let's take that off for a minute. Right. Why don't you like that? That's interesting that this worked when I practiced it. Ah, Fusion. Why? I made them 0.5. Are you happy? No, what? Why? What's wrong with that one? Okay, they're going to be 1.5 fillets. Fair enough. Very strange. Fusion does have this thing sometimes where you do something once and then do something again in the same way, and it doesn't necessarily work. But okay, so I've just increased it to 1.5, and we'll go with that. Okay, excellent. So this is now ready. It's ready to go onto Cura to be 3D printed. As I said earlier, if you do need to do this to your oven or your device, these dimensions may not be accurate to your device. So I'm going to save it now. File, save, and then I'm going to export it. Export dial 1. It needs to be an STL file, so that was already selected, but just to confirm, 3D printing needs STL files. Yeah, it comes up very quickly. and that's ready. So now I'm going to open my Ultimaker Cura, which is ready to go, and I'm going to open Dial. And because I drew it on the front plane, it will automatically come into Cura the right way up. Well, this way up. However, with this, if for example I wanted to print it as it is, so I've got supports, normal, touching build plate is fine. I'm happy with all, this is just the auto selected settings. I'm happy with that. Click slice and preview. You'll see there's a bit of an issue in, so if I look from the bottom, it puts supports inside the hole. And the problem with this is that that's going to be really difficult to get out. So the best thing to do with this would be to put this part at an angle. The downside of that is wherever the supports are, there's going to be a little bump left, which you need to sand down or file down. The thing with doing it in this orientation, all of those little bumps will be on the underside. But because this is really difficult to get out, I would recommend not printing it in this orientation. So if I go back to prepare, what I'm going to do with this is select it, select rotate, and I'm just going to rotate it to a 40, let's try 30 degree angle. So on the bed, it looks like this. Then I'm going to do my slice, leaving all the support properties as they were, and then preview. Now, this is a bit difficult to see from this angle, so I'm going to use the what's this? The scale on the right and bring down. And what this shows is there is no blue on this hole, which means there's no supports inside it, which is good. The blue supports are much further down. So, and the good thing about this as well is that the supports are on the edges of this part, which means the top face is still nice and clear and will be free of any lumps and bumps, and it will be much easier to process after it's been printed, so it will look nicer and it's easier to do as well. So 3 hours 43 minutes as usual. If you want a finer quality, you can drop the resolution down. It will take much longer, but if you have the time and you want it to look nicer, go with that. Vice versa, if you want something much quicker, if it's an emergency, if you are desperate to turn your oven on and you can't, low quality will massively reduce the time, but the quality will be significantly, well, you'll be able to see the layers really easily. So choose the way you want it, and then you click save to disk, and this is where you save it to your USB or your memory card or whatever your printer takes. You save it on that, and then you put it into your printer and you follow the instructions on your printer as to how to print it. Also, as usual, make sure you've got the correct settings. So mine, I always print on PLA, it's just standard, and the nozzle doesn't change because this is set up for my printer. So good luck, let me know how it goes. If you have any problems, let me know in the comments and I can try and sort out a solution for you. We'll see you next time.